Well, hello there. I am Taylor, and you. Oh, I'm such a dork. You are listening to the Surviving Maine podcast. Today, I'm speaking with the player voted out in the 12th episode of Surviving Maine 2019. What a wild tribal council that was. Make sure you've watched that before you continue listening to this. My goodness. As usual, let's start off with some other people's thoughts on this player's game. Here is what Liza and Tricky had to say about Rebecca.
Yeah, I wasn't sure about Becca at first. I knew that she was going to be tough. But other than that, I didn't know much. I just knew that she, was a mom. She was really excited about the physical and, like camping outside, being out there, survival aspect. But I didn't know much of her other than that. I just knew that she was ready to, take whatever was thrown at her, and she did just that. And she, I know, also made a lot of relationships and bonds with people that definitely kept her that far in the game.
I was really impressed with how she did physically with her, like having only, one arm essentially. You couldn't tell.
No, you couldn't. And too, pre-game, I wanted to make sure that, we were, that everyone was on the same level. So I had reached out to her and asked her about challenges and all of this. And just to make sure that, like, she wasn't coming in and felt like she was, at a disadvantage based on how I planned the challenges. And she said, plan whatever you're planning. I'll figure it out. And, we did that. And, there was one challenge that she was like, I wish that I understood the rules a little bit better, because I would have switched arms and held it with my other arm. But, she took it like a champ when she was out. And then she killed it in all the other challenges. You never would have known.
Becca, to me, at first, I thought Becca had like a chip on her shoulder. I really thought like Becca was kind of the person that she could fight back. And I thought that was good, because I thought, okay, if she's going to take a couple of bullets, then that'll protect me. But as I got to know Becca, and as time went on and things started to get better, Becca really ingratiated herself, and she was just loved by everyone. I love Becca to this day.
And who wouldn't? Okay, that was Tricky and Liza's thoughts on Becca. So here is my interview with Becca. We talk about what she could have and would have done differently, and how she might play if she gets the chance to again. Who knows? Maybe we'll see her on Real Survivor. Maybe we'll see her on a Surviving Maine All-Stars. Who knows? Here is my conversation with Becca. Hi.
Cool. Hello.
Hi. So thanks for talking to me today.
Yeah, definitely.
So what I've been doing with people is basically mostly what I want to get at is stuff the cameras didn't capture. So anything you want to talk about that you think was important to your game.
It's all a really big blur. It's so funny. The further away from it I get, and the more I think about it. Yeah. But the biggest thing I've reflected on after it was all over and talking with the jury, is what I thought was going on versus what I thought everyone else thought was going on.
Okay.
Versus what was really going on was all out of whack. Like, yeah. I was completely clueless as to what people were actually thinking was happening. So, and then I learned that people perceive things about me that I had no idea about. And looking at it now, I think, well, that's pretty obvious. So for instance, let me put some substance to this. I had stuck pretty closely with Jasmine because I thought that she was a pretty big threat. She was kind of like the ringleader, if you will. And I knew that, she was probably running the show and would tell people to vote me out when she was ready for me to go. So my lovely defense to that was to stay right by her side So as long as I stayed by her side, she wouldn't have the opportunity to talk to other people about voting me out. But then I realized, after talking to other people, they thought like she and I were in a really tight alliance.
Really?
Or at least according to some people, not everyone, but some of the people I talked about, particularly on the other tribe, they thought we were in an alliance together. So therefore they didn't talk to me about strategy because they thought, that I would run to her kind of a thing. Because when we merged and I tried to approach the other team awkwardly, like they were not receptive. They basically put up a wall and I was like, well, okay, then I guess that's that. And then so it turns out they thought I was in cahoots with her. So,
wow.
Yeah, a lot of stuff going on as far as that goes. So, and then meanwhile, she and I were like friendly, but we never really talked strategy together.
Really?
Right. Yeah. So that's that.
Wow. Okay, let's go back to I want to know what you were thinking, like day one. What were you thinking about each of the people on your tribe?
Really, I thought that they were all lovely. There wasn't anybody on the tribe who I thought this will be an easy out. In fact, Patrick was the first to go. I felt really bad because he is the first one who approached me, and he's like, it'll be you and I until the end. And he was like hardcore Survivor fan. And he was just talking to everybody, and then he had to be the first to go. I felt bad voting for him because I didn't really want to.
Wait, he was the second. He was the second one to go. I'm thinking about this because I just talked to Nick a couple hours ago, and he was the first one out of your tribe.
Oh yeah, Nick. That's right. Okay, you're right.
I know everything's so scrambled now.
What's that?
I said everything's so scrambled now.
It really is. That's what I was afraid would happen. Yeah. But yeah, no, Nick. That's right. He and I didn't really talk. He seemed nice enough. He also, I thought, would be one who was running the show. He was kind of an easier one for me to vote out because I didn't have a relationship with him, but it wasn't like I'm going to vote him out because he did all of these things.
Right.
It was just kind of go with the majority at that point. And then Patrick. If I hadn't voted for him, like I said I wouldn't, and I had kind of kept to my word, then everyone would have known I was the one, probably who didn't vote for him. So I had to kind of go with what everyone else was doing in that moment.
Yeah.
And there were times where I tried to talk to other people about, well, let's vote this person out or that person, but no one was really receptive to my ideas, I feel like, until maybe towards the end. And then I feel like it was, I was hurt a little bit more, but towards the beginning, I just felt like I couldn't get in with anybody to make any actual moves. I just kind of had to go with what was happening. So,
why do you think that was? Who were you trying to talk to in the beginning?
Oh, jeez, Luis. I feel like I should have taken notes before we had this.
No,
call.
Me too.
Okay. So, I feel bad. There were a couple times where I tried to get, oh, good Lord, you know how I am with names. I should have made a list.
I think I got it.
My Marine friend.
Jess.
Thank you. I feel bad saying this. There were a couple of times I've tried to get her voted out because I thought that she was, I thought there was a lot of things going on with her that actually, after talking to her, like, were not the case. She and I thought each other were doing very different things.
Oh, wow.
Basically, I think she thought I was in an alliance with Jasmine, and I also thought she was.
Oh.
Yeah, so really, if she and I had talked sooner, I think we probably could have done a lot. But that didn't happen. But I thought she was a force to be reckoned with, which really she would have been. If she went to the end, she would have won. So I thought it would be good to get her off earlier, or vote her off earlier. But really, I kind of just had to do just what everyone else was wanting to do, just to avoid a target on my back for the most part. So,
well, yeah, I mean, that's a smart way to play for especially the first half of the game. You don't want to make a target of yourself.
And I feel like the people who I tried to really convince was Cameron, because he was my biggest alliance until I coached Brandon. And he was receptive when I started talking about getting Jasmine out, which was nice. Brandon, I think, was the first kind of breakthrough that I thought I had. until I thought he and Cameron backstabbed me, but then that could have been a miscommunication, and I really won't know until we watch it. But
yeah,
so that's fun. So yes, but Cameron was the one who I was trying to get to vote off Jess instead of Jasmine, because that was the name. And he just, if he wasn't having it, then it wasn't a lot I could do.
When was that?
That would have been by, after the merge, when we were getting down to probably all blue, I would guess, for the most part.
Do you think
that it was? Do I think what?
Do you think that you were you didn't really start playing strategically until after the merge, or it's just your memory right now is you have a hard time remembering before the merge?
No, I probably didn't really both. I didn't really start playing strategically until the merge. I think before that I was just super paranoid. I didn't really know who to trust. So especially the first day, I was just very overtired, and then the next night I stayed up too late. Just, I think paranoia is kind of what drove me for the first part of the game. Just not wanting to miss out on anything, not knowing who to trust, feeling like I really wasn't playing the game because I didn't know what I was doing or what I was supposed to be doing. And I kind of felt like I was like the spaz of the bunch all over the place. So, yep.
So were you really paranoid those first, let's say, that first day of all those tribal councils with the swap and everything?
I was very paranoid, yes. Yep, I was paranoid through the whole thing. And even even once I was voted out and, just kind of sitting on the sidelines, I was feeling better. But I still wondered, like, what was real and what wasn't. Because pretty often person, and when I have conversations, I feel like they are, and everyone on my team and in the game seemed that way too. So, and I think everyone really is pretty genuine in that game, so that's kind of what made it difficult.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about then when the swap, the mix-up with the three tribes happened, where were you? On Cameron's tribe?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, so you guys never even went to tribal council, right?
Nope.
Okay. Okay, so then when you get to, actually, before we get to the merge, a bunch of people from the Lombard tribe were talking about how Karen's absence brought your tribe closer in a way. Do you have any thoughts about that, about Karen?
So, yeah, she definitely did. She kind of brought, like, someone who we could point fingers at, someone we could laugh about, and joke about. So she definitely did, but I think even more than Karen, it was getting lost at the beginning. I think that really helped us out a lot. Because in that time when we were trying to find our camp, we kind of got to know each other a little bit, laughed and joked and things like that. And I was really kind of worried about what it would be like to get to camp in that moment of us all just kind of sitting around awkwardly, trying to make small talk, get to know each other. So I feel like all that nonsense got out of the way during that time. And I think that's what really brought our tribe together. And then Karen too, yeah.
Yeah. A couple people brought up the getting lost thing too. Yeah. Yeah, that's so interesting. I think that gave your tribe a little bit of an edge over the Skitter tribe, who didn't seem very cohesive.
They didn't. And talking to them afterwards, they said that, they were a tight group. They just weren't as outward about it as we were. So then I thought, well, maybe we were just the obnoxious tribe. We perceived ourselves to be, like, super, like, great, tight team, but maybe they were too, and they were just quieter about it. I don't know.
Maybe.
We'll see.
Okay, so, I do want to ask you about, there was something about the vote where Tricky got voted out, because he, in his interview with me, talked about you a lot, that you were his number one ride or die, and that he, even though he understood why you had to vote him out, that he did feel the most hurt by you voting him out. So what went on that made you vote him out? Yeah. Don't feel bad. It's a game.
No, I know. I think that was probably, my memory is wonky. I think that was probably one of the times too that I may have tried to get Jess as well. I don't know. Because I know that I did try to not vote for him. But I just knew that whatever I was trying, it wasn't sticking, and I didn't want to keep pushing because then it would have kind of made it obvious that I wasn't with everybody else. So it was hard for me to vote for him, too, because even though I knew he was talking to everybody, I felt like when he said that to me that he really meant it, and I knew how much of a fan he is. And I knew that he probably would feel betrayed by my voting for him. But I would have been the only one who didn't vote for him. So it wouldn't have made sense. I couldn't save him. So it just would have put a target on my back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You did what you had to do.
I did.
Yeah.
I do feel bad about it. Sorry, Patrick. Yeah.
Now I want to step back again because I realized I didn't ask you already. What made you apply for Surviving Maine?
Oh, okay. So I'm a huge Survivor fan. I absolutely love Survivor. And I actually applied about a year ago and I got a call back for first edition. I know.
Oh, my God.
You should have seen me when I got the email. It was ridiculous. Probably about a 20-minute freak out just after reading the first sentence. So, but then I made another video and I didn't get the other call back. So that's fine. But anyway, I was telling a coworker about it and she was telling me about Surviving Maine and how I should do it. And then a few months later, she tagged me in their post when they were looking for people to apply. And I did. And the rest is history. And I thought it would be a great kind of taste of the game. Mm-hmm. And also, I thought it might be good for when I apply again to be able to say that I was on this game. And I cannot say enough about Liza and her family. Yeah. And that the way they did that game was unbelievable. It was as much like Survivor as it probably could have been for the amount of time and all of that. So, yeah.
Did playing it make you want to do the real Survivor even more or way less?
Well, it's been really... And while I was out there, it was very back and forth. After, like, that first night before I even went to sleep, I was like, oh, my gosh, the paranoia. How can people live, like, with the emotional turmoil? You know what I mean? Because it's very wearing on you, not knowing who to trust, knowing that, you know, you're going to have to be dishonest with people. And, you know, and for me, it's the overthinking, like, what are they going to think of me? You know, that kind of thing. So I questioned, like, I would never be able to go on Survivor. And then as the days went on, I told myself, well, first of all, in Survivor, you get a little bit of a break from it because it's not back to back, you know. Second of all, it's just mind over matter, just power through, you know. And then I decided I probably would apply again. The only thing is that I told myself, I'm a former smoker, and I told myself I would never apply to Survivor until I quit smoking cigarettes. So that way, I wouldn't be a thing out there. Yeah. And now with the physical activity, I'm telling myself I'm not going to apply to Survivor or Surviving Maine until I'm actually physically in shape, because that was a big thing for me. I just don't have the cardio. And when we were playing that ball game, that was really tough. So I want to be able to show up for the challenges and really, you know, put forth my best effort and have my best effort actually, you know, get me somewhere. Because one of my biggest strengths is like camp stuff. And in this particular game, it doesn't hold as much weight as it was on the real show because it's only 3 days. So, yeah. But, yeah.
So you just gotta hit the gym, get your cardio up, and apply again for season 41.
Yes, exactly. Okay. But not until then. Okay. I thought getting accepted to the show would be my motivation, and I did get to the gym here and there, but just not consistently. So.
Yeah, I can't even swim, so it's not even in the cards for me at all.
Well, we're too late to learn.
Maybe. Okay, so after the tricky vote, I'm pretty sure, I could be totally wrong because I keep getting it all scrambled up too, but I'm pretty sure you don't go to tribal council again until the merge. Is that right?
Yes, that is right. Yeah. Okay. Because that puts it at 7, and then it was Jess, and then it was me. right?
Well, so, I mean, from the Lombard tribe, yeah.
Right. Yeah, sorry. I feel like I'm... Okay. Right. So, yes, not until the merge. I believe you're right. And then we just picked them off.
For the most part. Yeah. So let's talk about that. So you played the entire time with Jasmine, Cameron, Brandon?
Yep.
Is that right? And then it was...
And then Jess was back and forth, and then Becky.
Becky was on your swap tribe and then at the merge.
Yeah.
So you played a little bit more with her.
Trying to think who I'm forgetting. I don't...
Tony.
Thank you.
Tony. But he was not on your swap tribe with you, but yes.
Right.
So at the merge, it was you, Cameron, Jasmine, Brandon, who you'd been with the whole time, and then Tony, Jess, and then the Skitter members, which were Emily, Becky, Justin, Toby, and Forrest.
Yes.
So it was 5 of them and 7 of you? Is that right? That seems right.
Yep.
I hope I'm not totally wrong.
No, that's okay. No, so far it sounds good to me. Nope.
I really should have written this down like 5 interviews ago.
I was thinking about this. That's all right.
Okay, so heading into that merge, what were your thoughts? Were you thinking you were going to stay Lombard strong? Were you thinking of shaking things up? What was going on with Becca's head?
I was thinking of staying Lombard strong for a couple of votes. And then I was hoping to switch things up when I thought that the numbers could be on my side. So when I thought, because if I had switched it up right from the beginning, I just would have still been, I wouldn't have had the numbers if it was just me and all the rest of the Skitter tribe. So I wanted to wait until I could get a couple of blue members with a couple of the leftover reds. And that's when, I believe it was when we had the food challenge, is when I did start approaching some of the Skitter to try to see where their heads were at and if maybe we could work together.
Which challenge was that?
Well, not the challenge, but after the food reward. When we were all eating our hot dogs and things like that.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So I believe it was after everyone was done eating and we were all kind of like just hanging out. I believe that was when I tried to talk to some of the folks. So that must have been right at the merge. Mm-hmm. And I think I only did that at that time just to try to get a feel from them. I wasn't probably going to vote with them right away, per se. But nobody was like, I'd walk up to them and I was like, hey guys, how's it going? And it was just like, hey, and then they would just not really even try to engage, where I figured they must not have wanted to work with me because they didn't have the numbers, and that was their chance to try to convince me to, try to give me a plan and tell me where they were at, and they just did not do that. So
was it anyone in particular?
I approached Emily and Justin and Toby. I don't know that I really tried to talk too much to Toby. And then I didn't talk a lot to Forrest because I was just really afraid that it couldn't be done in a low key kind of a way. So I kind of steered clear of him a little bit because I was afraid he would we'd get sucked in and I wouldn't be able to get away, and then I wouldn't be able to hear other conversations, and I was afraid I'd get isolated, and then I was also afraid if I did talk to him strategy that he would talk to other people, and then, so he was probably the only one I could have approached and tried to have a plan with who would have been receptive to it, actually, but...
I don't know. He's a bit of a wild card. I don't know. Yeah. I don't think he had the strategic game under... I don't think he understood what was going on.
Yeah, no, he definitely was a little confused, but another reason why I was just like, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, Emily and Justin were the two that I was really surprised because I approached, I think, both of them together, and because they were talking, and I just kind of interrupted, and I was like, hey, no smiles or anything. So I thought these people hate me or they don't want to align with me, but then after talking to them, during, once I was on the jury, that's how I found out they thought that I was aligned real tightly with Jasmine.
So they were two of the ones that thought it was you and Jasmine. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
But still, gosh.
I know, that was like, who cares at that point? They didn't have the numbers. They should have still tried.
I mean, yeah, right. That's what I would do. It's stuff like that makes me think I should play because I would do so much better than these people. But, I'm sure I would be just as awful or worse than anyone else,
I know, it's so hard.
Okay, so you guys, that first merged tribal council, decide to, let's see, Cameron wins the individual immunity, and right, and you guys think somebody has an idol, and you decide to vote out Emily. How did that go down?
Uh-oh. It's like the votes that I don't really remember very well, to be honest with you. Emily, how did that go down? I think the Emily vote, it was just a matter, I think that's probably why I don't remember it a lot, because I think it was like, it was right at the beginning, and I was just, like I said, I was just going to vote with what I thought everyone else was doing, and I wasn't going to try to betray the blue until it got, until, there was only one or two red people left, so... Yeah. So I don't remember that one. I think the next vote, because it was her, and then what was it?
I think Forrest was after that.
Oh, okay. Well, so, and then, yeah, and that was a whole emotional thing. And then Toby, was he already gone?
No. Toby was after Forrest.
Okay. Yeah, so those three were out, and then Justin, and so yeah, that was all just kind of when I realized I couldn't really get through to the Red Tribe with the exception of Becky, and even she, right when we did the full merge, it was almost like I felt like it was going to be her and Emily who we might be able to kind of vote together with, maybe a couple other blue people. But then once the merge happened, it seemed like Becky was right back to the old skitter. And so anything that we had done on the original merge, so even I was apprehensive about her at that point. So I just was kind of voting with blue. And it wasn't really until I probably really didn't start strategically playing until Justin got voted out and it was all of us. Because I had to. And then I had to. I'd had conversations.
Yeah.
And I had talked to Brandon prior to that saying, we're going to have to vote Jess out. At some point I told, not Jess, Jasmine out. At some point I told him that, which was the first real move that I made other than trying to put bugs in people's ears. That was the first really tough conversation. I guess that it was hard for me to do because I knew that they were so tight. But I knew if I didn't do something, then my game would be over, and I wouldn't have really tried to do anything. And he was really receptive to that. And then I got fired up because when Jess got voted out, I thought we were voting out Jasmine.
Yeah, so let's go through all that then.
Yeah. Okay. Let's get Jasmine out of here is my thoughts, and then I can start playing. I feel like that was kind of what my thought process was the whole game.
Right. So this is okay. So day 3. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yes, it was day 3 that night. You had merged, and it was the only people left were the all the Lombard people and Becky, and that was it. That went back to camp that night. So, the next day there was a few different plans that had been floating around. One of them that I believe Cameron started was to get Jess scared. Oh, now who was it? Now I'm getting confused. It was either he wanted to flush out an idol, either Jess's or Jasmine's, and I think it was he wanted to get Jasmine. Yes, I remember because I recorded this confessional with him. He wanted to get Jasmine scared and to play her idol and vote Jess out and blindside Jess with her idol. And he wanted to approach you, Brandon, Tony, and Becky. He wanted to pull in Becky last to make this happen. But then there was like some late night conversations going on, I think with you and Brandon, and you guys talked about voting out Jasmine.
Mm-hmm.
So what did you hear from whom, and what were you deciding to do before anything happened that next day?
I was all about voting out Jasmine.
Yeah.
I thought she was the bigger threat because earlier on I was like, let's get Jess out. And then I had switched gears to Jasmine because I didn't think that we could get Jasmine out earlier on because she had all the like alliances. She was really tight with Brandon. I hadn't talked to him yet about her. So I was under the understanding that it was going to be Jasmine. We knew that she had the idols. We were going to tell her it was going to be Jess so that she could play her idol. Everyone was on board with it, or so I thought. And then Jess. And then that's when I was like, you guys. I felt it hard there because I was, oh, finally I'm playing. And then all of a sudden this happens. And then they insist that they looked over at me and they like mouthed Jess and that was the plan. And they acted all like, what are you doing? The plan was to vote Jess. And I just swear that was not the plan. However, maybe there was a miscommunication. I don't know.
It does seem like there was, because I have interviewed both of them, and they were really insisting that they told you Jazz, but because Jazz and Jess sound similar, especially when you're whispering, I guess, that it was, they did not intend to deceive you.
Right.
And that, like, their arguments, and they were making these arguments totally separately, right? So I believe them.
Right.
And it doesn't make sense, like, why they would. It doesn't make any sense for them to lie to you, basically.
Right.
But in the moment, when you think you're being lied to, hell yeah, you need to get revenge.
Right. I know, they tried to talk to me, and I was just like,
Right.
This is it. Oh, boy. It's funny how it all played out. And the thing is, too, that's another thing I've been thinking a lot about is, by me doing that probably really kind of like messed up their game and their plan in some ways, to a point. But it probably messed up my game more than anything because I probably could have potentially been there. But they ended up doing like the guys all voted together anyway, so who knows?
The thing that I loved about this miscommunication between you guys was that it made the next tribal really interesting. That was probably one of the most crazy, like one of the top two most crazy tribals. Where you go out.
I know. Was it like 3 votes, right?
3 different votes, yeah. So let's talk about what went on before that, leading up to that tribal council. What were the conversations you were having? There was a lot of crazy scrambling going on.
Mm-hmm. I think the biggest thing was trying to convince Tony to vote with us because I felt like he wasn't believing us.
And by us, you mean now you and Becky.
And I, yeah. And so she showed him the idol, and you'd think that would have been enough. But it wasn't, and my nervous laughing got him, like, not believing us either. And what's that?
Oh, I didn't know. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't even remember how all the votes went. I just know I feel bad for Brandon because he was really the one who I think, had the toughest time during that vote.
Yeah.
Because he was kind of, he was called out at that point, as switching sides. So yeah, it was all very emotional. It is a big blur. I wish I could walk you through it a little more than I'm able to.
Let me try to walk you through it.
Okay, that's probably best.
Okay, so beforehand, I remember seeing you guys walking around. It was you and Becky. You were both mad that you had been deceived, whether or not you were, doesn't matter. And you, like, Brandon's begging your forgiveness, and then at another point, Cameron is doing the same thing. And so at what point did you and Becky decide to vote Cameron?
And
this is, Jasmine has individual immunity at this point.
Right.
And when did Becky show you her idol? When did you find out about that?
She had told me about it fairly soon before she showed it to Tony.
Okay.
I think she had told me and then kind of showed him. But I think I just trusted Brandon more than Cameron at that point, to be honest with you. I don't know. I think I felt more betrayed by Cameron, and that also made it easier. It was a little more personal, like whether it was, like you said, real or not, it doesn't matter. But Brandon, I had a great relationship with throughout the whole game, as far as like laughter and jokes and stories and things. But we didn't really talk a ton of strategy together because, like I said, he was Jasmine's biggest ally, and so I didn't approach him, or he didn't approach me. But Cameron and I had been talking, almost from the very beginning, even, when Patrick was still there. I didn't really know if I could trust him or not. So I think I felt more betrayed by him, and I felt like Brandon, maybe, I don't know, I just felt like he would be the good one to go with. I'm not sure exactly what my process was. So we talked, I think, Becky and I and Brandon, and then Brandon and I and Tony, and then Becky and I and Tony. Those were kind of like the final three, and I'm not even sure if I could tell you honestly now, like, if I was there in the end. I feel like I was kind of set on Becky and Tony because I feel like all three of us were kind of equal players, so I think it would have been... Becky had the idols and stuff, and she was like more of a comeback because she was on the Skitter tribe. But Tony was really like low key and quiet, and I hadn't played like a super strong game, so I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this. I'm just
Was it you or Becky who decided then that Cameron would be the one you were going to target?
That's a tough one. I don't know.
Maybe it was a mutual
I feel like it was just something, we kind of talked through the different ways and came to that conclusion, but I can't say for sure.
So when it comes time to vote, Brandon actually votes with you, and it's 3 votes Cameron, 3 votes Becky, and idols are played on both Becky and Cameron because Jasmine looks at Brandon and says, who should I play this on, and plays it on Cameron. So... no votes count. There's a revote. Now this is where I get lost because I was just so happy that Becky played her idol. I was like, oh, thank God she's safe. And I kind of just blacked out at that point. And I don't remember what happens after this. So there's another vote. And what happens?
Okay. So, and then we couldn't vote for...
At this point, you can only vote for Becca, Brandon, Tony. Those are the only options.
Right.
So who did you vote for that second time?
Tony. I believe I voted for Tony.
So it must have been...
I think maybe I voted for Tony because I was thinking maybe that would be what the majority voted for. I don't remember.
And this ended up in a tie again? Is that right?
Yeah. So it must have been a tie between Tony and myself.
Right. It must have been. Yeah, I do not know.
Brandon, I think when they voted again, he was the one who ended up having to vote for me.
That's right. Yes.
Yep.
That's correct. Okay. So it's then 3 Becca, 3 Tony, and then you and Tony couldn't vote. And so Becky must have voted for Tony. Brandon didn't want to do a rock draw because it would have been him. He would have been the one and only to go out. Okay. This makes sense. Yes. Okay. It's all coming together.
It's very convoluted.
So you end up getting voted out, like, in a really crazy way. And What do you think you could have done differently to not have been the one at that tribal?
At that particular tribal? Really, I should have just started talking strategy way sooner than I did. That's the big thing. In the game in general. As far as that vote goes, though, I mean, maybe actually talking to Jasmine instead of just being so afraid of her that I was like up her butt the whole time, but actually had conversations about the game would have probably been helpful.
Yeah.
I can't feel too bad about that vote as far as like, I did 50% of something okay because it kept tying, so that worked out. Yeah. I don't know. It's too bad that we couldn't have voted after the idols are flushed. You'd think you'd be able to vote for those people too, because then I think it could have gone differently. But yeah, but I don't really know.
Well, then,
I wouldn't have asked Brandon to draw for rocks. That would be unfair. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't have expected him to do that or anything.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one way it could have changed, but that wouldn't have been fair where he wasn't being voted for. So I'm not a fan of rocks either.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Well, then what do you think, what is like one thing you would have done earlier that you think could have gotten you further?
Well, that first night I was really tired. I slept by the fire so as to not miss out on things, but Cameron, Jasmine, and Brandon were basically up all night.
Yeah.
And I was exhausted. I stayed up basically all night on the other nights, but no one really stayed up all night with me because they were all tired, so that didn't benefit me. So I think that first night staying up and really getting in on that would have been helpful. And beyond that, talking to Jess, I think would have really benefited me. I think she could have been a great ally in that. And talking to Brandon sooner as well. Because, like I said, as tight as he and Jasmine were, that was a really tough conversation for me to have because I thought there's a chance he's just going to go and tell her. But he also knows how to play, and he also really wants to win, So maybe having a conversation with him earlier on, and he and Jess and I may have been able to get Jasmine out sooner. And then maybe Cameron, and then maybe us and Tony could have had an alliance. I don't know.
Who would be your ideal other two people to sit next to at the end?
Brandon and Becky were, because earlier I know I was saying I don't know if I was sure about the final three. Those were all the different possible scenarios. But after I remember I had voted Tony and not Brandon, then I remembered that was my concrete three that I had decided on. Yeah.
Because you trusted them, or?
Yeah. Yeah, even though I felt betrayed again by Brandon, I think I felt less so than I did by Cameron. And I think I thought, hey, I could have made a mistake. You know what I mean? He seems like he's really trying to let me know. And then he voted with us, which also, proved, that he was back on our side, even if he strayed for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then Becky, just getting to know her in the time out there. And she just, she found the idol, and she was strong at the challenges. So, and then being the underdog, she would be a good one to go with. So I'm always, it's probably not the best strategy, but even watching Survivor, I always like for the final people to be super even, as far as things go. So
makes it more exciting for sure.
Right.
Is there anything else you want to talk about that we didn't get to?
No, it's just going to be so funny watching with people that I know. I feel like it's going to be really embarrassing.
No, I don't think so.
Especially with that whole miscommunication thing. I'm like, oh, God.
Oh, that's going to be hilarious, though.
Yeah.
If they have it on footage that you're just totally wrong. I don't know if they do, but if they do, that'll be funny. You'll just have to laugh at yourself.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, I already am. I'm over it because it was just so much fun. The whole experience was awesome. Yeah. So, yeah, I loved it.
Would you do this again?
I would, once I'm physically in shape.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next year, unless something crazy happens and I end up applying, I would like to, if they do season 3, which I hope they do, I'd like to go help with production and have my son, my little guy, and my oldest kids come up, and because that was also fun watching the kids play, and I was like, oh, geez, my little guy especially, because they were all younger kids, would have had so much fun. And he did actually come up on Sunday and had a blast. So I think it will be nice watching from the other side for a season, and then maybe applying again for season 4.
Nice.
Yeah.
Maybe one day there will be a all-star season you can do.
Yes, maybe that too. And I'm just going to come in and not worry about like what people think and just start playing right away. That'll be my plan. Easier said than done. But
Yeah. So do you have any thoughts about like what exactly your strategy would be a second time? Or if you played the real Survivor?
Oh, well, one thing is looking for idols. I forgot to mention that. Anytime I would think I'm going to go to the bathroom and look for an idol, I'd go to the bathroom and then I would totally forget to look. And there were so many idols in the game.
There was, yeah.
Just so many, and I was not playing the idol game at all. So I would do that differently, because obviously had I had idols at any point, that would have been beneficial.
Yeah.
And then I'll talk strategy early on, because I guess I was afraid of talking strategy, putting a target on my back, because there's a fine line, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to play too hard, because it does put a target on your back, but then if you don't play at all, you're not going to win. So you're going to get voted out either way. So you might as well try to play early on. Yeah. Potentially get voted out, or potentially not, and, play a hard game the whole time. Jasmine did a great job at that.
Yeah.
So, yep. So.
Okay. I can't think of anything else.
I don't think I can either. Hang up. That's usually how it goes. Yep.
Okay. Well, thanks for talking to me for like an hour.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. Are you going to be like how are you going to put these together? Is just one big thing, or?
No, so I'm going to do an episode for when they finally get the YouTube episodes going, it'll be like one podcast after each episode.
Oh, nice.
So I'll try to do something, not for every single person voted out, but some little thing. And then as it gets closer to the merge, then each person would get like an hour podcast. So you'll get your hour, Yes.
Yeah. Very cool. I can't wait. Any inside scoop as far as how season 1 is coming? I'm like, once we see that one put out, then we'll know.
I know, right? Yeah, I'm actually interviewing Liza tomorrow morning, so I will let you know. I'm going to ask her everything.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Taylor.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, so there's a little behind the scenes on what was going on in the late summer of 2019 when we were waiting on someone to start making episodes. Little did I know it was going to be me doing all the work, but it's been very fun, and I'm so glad that I got to. So that was my interview with Becca. Stay tuned. It's getting very exciting here. We're approaching the end. I will be back with an interview with the 6th member of the jury next week.